Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Lampworking in Black and White, volume 26. Today we're going to talk about a fun pattern. It's called Cornelli Lace. The definition is a continuous wavy line that does not touch itself or cross itself. So I figured, well, that's easy enough. I did try to look up the history for Cornelli Lace, and all I really was able to come up with, besides the definition, is it all boiled down to cake making, cake decorating, piping on cake, icing on cake, which is perfect for me because I love cake. But that's all I could find. I couldn't find anything on Cornelli. Is he a lace maker? Is he a pastry chef? These are questions that I want to know. Until I find those answers, let's just go ahead and put this pattern on a bead. I hope you guys enjoy this technique and give it a try. And I do hope you're all doing safe and well out there wherever you may be. And on that note, let's get right into it. And I will see you all next week in the dungeon. All right, I'm going to start this out by making our Latticino cane. And all that is traditionally is a bit of white colored glass with clear all around it, pulled out into a long cane and then used in whatever piece you're using it in. And so what I'm going to do is just feather the white, just the tip of the white glass in the flame, just to get it hot enough to where when I add the clear glass on top, it doesn't crack. And so I'm going to swipe the clear on. There's different techniques to make the filigrana cane here. Just use whichever one you're most comfortable with. And I will add 2 coats of clear on top of this bit of white. And the reason why I'm using this instead of just a piece of white stringer is so the white doesn't bleed out, and also so it stays nice and thin once I put it on the bead in the pattern. Okay, so I am going to punty up one side and then take the white cane off, pull a little bit of your glass out so everything is nice and even where you're going to add the punty. Then I'll add my second one. And at this point, I kind of make a football shape when I pull out stringers or cane or anything. It kind of helps to keep all the heat in the center because those smaller, thinner edges will cool down a little quicker than that center bundle. All right, so I'm going to just heat it really nice, almost until that white becomes transparent again. And then slowly start to pull this cane out. I got a lot of glass here. I probably ended up with like 3 feet of glass. My arms were as wide as I could make them go. But that ensures that I have plenty to work with. All right, so we're going to start the bead out now. And I decided that I would make this a hollow bead because I had done this before as a solid bead. I just wanted it to be a little bit bigger, and it is quicker for me to do a hollow bead than to build up all this black glass and make a really humongous, heavy, solid bead. So in order for me to do this technique, I will add 2 beginning little spacer beads about 1/2 inch apart on my mandrel. And then I will start to just form those into beads. Not form them, but add the wraps as if I'm making a small bead. But I'm going to continue adding these wraps. And every time I make a hollow bead, the left side is always slightly more curved than the right side. So I just have learned how to work with that. And I noticed that the left side starts to, travel more towards the right side. So the right side ends up being like the lid that I push down on the other side, so they both meet in the end. The other most important thing about making a hollow bead is to always keep the heat in the whole bead. It is very easy to crack these. If that happens, just start over again. You know, if you make it to this point, then slowly start to push those discs together. I don't know if you could call that one a disc. It kind of more looks like a cup and a lid. So you can start pushing those together and then rounding it out. And as long as none of the black glass touch the mandrel, this should round out really nice with the help of my graphite paddle. Lots of heat and just rolling it out a little at a time. This bead maybe took about, just the hollow part, maybe took about 7 or 8 minutes to make. So it doesn't happen all of a sudden. You really need to take your time making a hollow bead and keeping it warm but not melted the whole time. These beads can take a lot of practice, or what you can do is just make a big solid bead if you just want to practice this pattern on it. All right, this is looking really nice. I'm getting my edges nice and smooth now. And at this point, I think that this looks good enough to go ahead and start our pattern on. All right, so I'm taking my flame down into just a small flame is all I need here. And I'm going to start really anywhere with the cane. Just heat the very end of the cane and attach it somewhere on the bead, and then using just the edge of your flame, you want to hit the cane right where it starts to melt. And that is that beautiful point where you can start to draw with the cane. It does take a lot of practice to figure out exactly where you need to be, but this is a lot of fun to kind of practice with, because all I'm doing here is just wiggling that glass back and forth. And once I have a little section done, I stop everything and I make sure that I melt it in about halfway. And then I will start to work on a different section. And I'm continuing to do this until the whole bead is completely full of this pattern. And I am trying to make these little squiggles, this little pattern as tight as I can make it. And then once I have one section done, I will go and reheat everything. If you just try to do the whole pattern, what could happen is maybe a little bit pops off. And that happened to me several times. So don't worry, I'll show you how to fix it. In these little tiny areas, I'll just add a little bit to wherever I can. And again, continuing to heat everything up in between. I don't want to spend too long working on one line. I just want to kind of work as fast as I can so nothing cracks or breaks or pops off. You know, it's crazy because you can melt this in and melt it in and still have a little bit pop off later on, like right here. See that little bit that just popped off? I'm just going to press it back on there and make sure it's nice and hot. If your cane breaks, that's okay too. Just continue to add to it where the cane broke off. Just continue on with your fresh cane. And then really take your time heating everything up. That's like the big key I noticed here. I made a good handful of these, and everyone, like the first one, it was not really a disaster, but there was a lot of pieces falling off that I had to reapply later on. And another thing that I noticed is because we're working with a filigrana cane, a color surrounded by clear, that clear really takes a long time to melt into the bead. So I decided not to melt it in all the way, instead opting for a kind of a raised up pattern. And I must say, that's really the way to go. The raised up pattern is so wonderful on this bead. It feels amazing. It's just great. You just want to hold it, really. And the other thing I mentioned earlier, is that it kind of has a pattern similar to the brain. And I thought that was very interesting as well. And I thought, well, is the brain Cornelli Lace? I don't know. Could it be considered that pattern? I'm not sure. But it's amazing how you working on a pattern, then you see it in nature and in different things. All right, we're almost done. I'm just going to add a little bit more here just to fill in all those black areas. And I'm trying to, get it a little tighter here. And as I'm working on this pattern, I'm also practicing. I'm constantly in practice with stringer work. Just trying to get my stringer control down better and my stringer pattern down tighter. And for me, being a very shaky person, I was really happy that the bead came out as nice as it did. So, if you guys tend to be a little shaky like me, it might actually work for you with this pattern. As you can see right here, I am shaky, but if I can do it, so can you. All right, we're almost done with this pattern here. And you notice I have been pressing it down a little bit here and there with my butter knife. And I'm doing that specifically to press down around the areas closest to the mandrel and the areas where the stringer begins and ends. Now once all that pattern is on here, God, it looks so fun. I just love this. We're gonna heat everything up again and make sure that our pattern is completely sealed onto the black glass. You don't want any of this pattern falling off later on. So I notice as much as I try to heat this pattern up, it still is giving me this raised up texture. And I love it. All right, you guys, that is our awesome Cornelli Lace hollow bead. I hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you next time.